How do you maintain a strong relationship with those closest to you?
You move away. 2 years ago, and a bit, I actually had several heart attacks.
Scaled, the platform you need.
Welcome to another episode of the Skilled Edge Show, where we help entrepreneurs, CEOs, and service based business owners to increase cash flow, profits using fully automated AI marketing systems while repairing credit and securing funding to scale their operations. In this show, we don't just talk about business, we also dive into the human side of success, exploring the four core domains that shape who we are: the body, being, balance, and business. So sit back and get ready for a powerful, insightful conversation that goes beyond profits and systems into purpose, mindset, and meaning. Today, I have Dan Taylor with us. I'm thrilled to have Dan Taylor here, and he's a founder, marketer, and leader whose career spans more than 4 decades across marketing, entrepreneurship, and economic development. His startup, Creative Marketing, is a modern revival of the company his father built, now reimagined with AI to help businesses work smarter and faster, and even more efficiently. Dan began his career in Toronto's marketing and advertising agency world before moving to Prince Edward County, where he planted a small Pinot Noir vineyard and produced three commercial vintages while working as an economic development officer. He later served as the CEO of two not for profit economic development organizations, developing servant leadership approach focused on empowering teams and strengthening community partnerships. Today, Dan has helped and is helping home service businesses, especially HVAC companies, generate leads, increase sales, improve communications, and reduce overhead through AI empowered employees, high performance websites, SEO, and targeted advertising. Outside of his work, Dan is a dedicated father of three and prioritizes his well being through daily running, meditation, and disciplined fitness routines. Welcome to the show, Dan. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Wow, it's great to be here. Thanks a lot, Shiva. Really appreciate it.
So let's start with your journey. How did you get into the AI industry? Has it always been a part you envisioned for yourself?
So, maybe not that long after, ChatGPT came into my awareness. I don't know if I was an early adopter, but definitely not an early adopter, but an early adopter. And actually, when I was serving as CEO at the last economic development agency, I encouraged my team to use it as a tool. So I'm usually like not at the front edge of early adopter, but not that far behind. So uh, I'm always interested in innovation. I have a background in creativity and innovation, and and I understood and understand like the power of AI. And the more I get into it, it's like, wow, and it's going like that. So, yeah, so I I get it as a tool and, probably as a necessity if anybody that's I was gonna say in business, but just living, right? I think it's just a tool that we all need to learn and understand and figure out what our niche is with AI and how to use it. So, yeah.
So was that a defining moment that, pushed you to reviving your father's business?
Yeah, so it kind of evolved a little bit. I, I've done, lots of consulting and marketing consulting, and I never really adapted his business. name, if you will. And when I started forming the idea of having an AI agency and I needed a name for it, I thought creative marketing would, it was just an interesting idea for me to, um, A, like to have a commitment, right, for the legacy. It's a great name. Um, and doing 2.0 or 3.0 of creative marketing in this modern age of AI and digital marketing, it all just kind of, it came together. It was organic. It was not like I didn't have a plan one day that I wanted to resurrect this company or anything like that. So it was sort of, I needed a name. I'm working on AI, and I'm in sort of the last third of my life's lap, and I thought, well, this is probably a good time to bring pay homage, if you will, and bring it back to life in a new way.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what's the most rewarding part of working with home service businesses?
Yeah. So the biggest reward is, whether you're a roofer, a plumber, electrician, or air conditioning, heating, and plumbing, you're really good at that. Uh, some, maybe 10 or 15 or maybe even 20%, are also particularly good at the machine of lead gen, of marketing. But, a good 75, 80%, they need help. And the tool, so the main thing is, imagine you're like a plumber on a job and somebody calls you and that maybe you're a one-man show or one-person show and you can't answer the phone. So what I've learned is more than 5-minute delay in getting back to a prospect, your sales opportunity drops like by eightfold, like not by 5%, but like by eightfold. So things like AI can do the mundane tasks of texting back a call, voice agenting back a call, booking a meeting. It can do the stuff really fast so that the tradespeople, they don't lose the opportunity, because imagine I'm online and I need a plumber. Well, if a person doesn't answer, I'm going to the next one. I'm going to the first one that answers and tells me they can fix my problem. Or if an agent, an AI agent, gets back to me and books an appointment or makes me feel confident that I'm going to get serviced in the near future, then I won't look further. So time in the trades, depending on the situation, is really of the essence. And you snooze, you lose. You don't get back to people, you miss the opportunity. And imagine you've invested in Google reviews, in a phone number, in an 800 number. And so you're not even leveraging the assets, right? So this way we can help bring a higher return on investments that have already been made. The other thing, because most of them aren't marketers, is they're sitting on a ton of dormant leads. And so I can help folks create a promotion and quite frankly, seasonal and or, Black Friday or Christmas or whatever Valentine's Day, whatever the situation might be, and generate more business without them having to spend any money on advertising. So it's pretty interesting.
Yes, it is. So now that we've talked about your professional journey, I'd like to go a little deeper into areas that shapes not just our careers, but our lives as a whole. And I think exploring them gives us a complete picture of success. So as entrepreneurs, we carry a lot mentally, emotionally, and physically. How do you prioritize your physical health and how has it impacted your work?
Yeah. So a little over a decade ago, I stepped into a large role for me as the CEO of a not-for-profit economic development agency. And all I really knew for sure was that it was gonna be a demanding job. Not that my previous job wasn't demanding, but this was, like, a couple levels up. So and I also probably were packing an extra 20 or 30 pounds that I didn't really need. So I decided that running, would be a good outlet for me. One of the reasons is so the 2 main sports that I do are they're both solo, which is interesting, and they're both low equipment, and they both allow me to watch the world go by. So running is one, and cycling is the other. And I've been cycling just like fun for recreation since I was a since I was a kid, but I remember as a teenager going on 10 and 20-kilometer bike rides. So for me, it's a bit meditative because literally if you're running or cycling, the world is going by. It's not in a gym. It's not tied to equipment or a schedule or a facility. So I like that. And and I remember the first run I did, I might even been joined a group, which turns out isn't my thing, but it was a way to start. It might have been a 5K run. And wait, it was brutal because I hadn't really trained or conditioned yet. And I was just joining this group to get into my groove. And then I found my groove. And then funny enough, so I used to, I'd get up at whatever, 6 in the morning. And I worked my way up. I used to run 10K a day, 5 or 6 days a week. And this was near Toronto. And as a family, we used to drive to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I did the math. Every year I ran the distance of Toronto to Florida, 2,700 kilometers. Yeah, but not at once. Yeah. So when I go at minus 20 degrees, in fact, I bundle up and you break a sweat. And my only running regret is one day I was just shy. I was at around 18 kilometers on my run, and I had a meeting to get to. And so while I've never run in a half marathon, I was just shy of running the distance of a half marathon. But I could have done it. I just, I didn't have the time. So yeah. And then I did barefoot running. They call it a fun run. And I don't run for fun. It's not that it's not fun, but anyway, I had a whole barefoot shoes thing, and, um, and I had my best run ever. I did, like, 4 minutes and 30 seconds per kilometer for 11 kilometers, and I came in 4th, so I didn't get a prize, which is fine, but that was quite something. So, yeah, so I don't run like that today. I was worried my body might fall apart because I only started, in my late 40s, so now I do high intensity interval training. So I jog and I sprint, I jog and I sprint. And when I have a chance, I go on 20 and 30-kilometer bike rides. Yeah. So both meditative and good for the cardio.
Yeah. So, what's your go-to routine to stay active and grounded amidst your busy schedule?
Yeah, so literally, so I'm a morning guy. Um, Now that I work for myself, I usually actually I'm getting up quite early. I usually start work around 7 and I do a couple hours of work and then I take a break and then I go for a run. My run's like 1.5, 2 kilometers. And prior to that, I meditate. So I have 2 meditations that I do. When I wake up, I do a gratitude meditation, and the gratitude is primarily just for my body. So I work my way up from my toes to the top of my head and thankful for my body parts and my blood flow and, and my health. And then I think of other personal things, relationships and other things that I'm grateful for. And then I have I have a what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I have like a list of things. So it starts with always be kind. Yeah, so I have like a well, it's more of like a but my personal so the big things for me are kindness, so I focus on kindness. Um, I don't wanna say I've mastered it, but I'm on the perpetual a journey of mastery of reacting or responding, not reacting. So, somebody could get your goat and maybe
Yeah.
you get a little heated. So I remind myself every day to not do that. And then I have to remember also to just relax and be more patient. I'm walking in a crowd and I get impatient and I catch my goat. Damn, my meditation's not working. I gotta work. I gotta work. So yeah, so I go through, and then at the end, there's Deepak Chopra has quoted. I don't think he invented it. Seven spiritual laws of prosperity or wealth or something like that. I end off on meditate, do a bit of go for a run, come back and take it from there.
Yeah. So, but has there ever been a time that your health directly affected your decision making? To entrepreneurs building or growing a credit repair business, let me ask you something. Are you making sure your clients can submit their documents easily? And what systems do you have in place to prevent cancellations and have a consistent flow of leads? Because if you're relying on memory, sticky notes, and hopping between apps just to keep everything running and hoping that clients fall at your doorstep, you're setting yourself up for burnout, bottlenecks, and failure. That's why you need the No Luna AI framework and website template. It's built specifically for credit repair businesses and designed to work seamlessly with Credit Repair Cloud. With it, you can automatically onboard clients, collect documents without chasing anyone, streamline your entire workflow, and with the business automation add-on, put your whole credit repair operation on autopilot, from your lead magnet funnel to your follow-up sequence to your AI receptionist and even your payment collection system. Look, I get it. Running a credit repair business can feel overwhelming, from juggling apps, chasing payments, answering calls, and even drowning in admin work. That's exactly why we use this template for our credit repair and funding company. Because once your system runs smoothly, scaling becomes easy. So if you want to onboard clients effortlessly and automate your entire business from day one, the No Luna website template is your first step. Check it out at template.nolonallc.com.
I don't think so. I'm gonna tell you a bit of a story since you're asking me about it, though. So 2 years ago, and a bit, I actually had several heart attacks. And when I say several, the first 1 to 3 weren't diagnosed, even though I went into, like, walk-in clinic and at EKG and all that jazz. And then finally, I went to an emergency on the 3rd or the 4th one because I don't know for sure. And, fortunately, I was well taken care of, but I didn't really miss a beat, meaning well, I missed a few heartbeats, I guess, but I didn't miss a beat, meaning I more or less kept working because I didn't feel physically that affected by it. Obviously, there was some level, of affect. So I, well, actually, okay. So that's an answer where I believe the answer is no. Can you repeat the question? Because I think I have also an answer where the answer is yes.
So I was asking if there's been a time that your health has affected your decision making and your performance.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm not sure mental health is quite the answer to it, but um, I mentioned before that I meditate to respond, not react. So I used to react, not respond. And so I would say my journey towards servant leadership uh, was spawned on by not being a servant leader, but serving my beliefs, for lack of a better term. I hate to use the term ego because I don't know that it was ego, but certainly a level of like perception and belief of the way things should be and when they aren't, etc. So um, I I learned the hard way that it is better to respond than to react. Let's just put it that I used to react, and at one point in time, it didn't serve me very well.
I understand. So, would you say that spirituality or connection to something greater plays a role, you know, and leads your decision making?
That's a really good question. I, I think I'm evolving, perhaps devolving on that journey. So, I grew up in a Catholic family, and I don't follow or subscribe to Catholicism or maybe even God. Um, I I don't hesitate to use this word, but for lack of a better term, I used to consider myself spiritual, um, whatever that means. Certainly not religious, but spiritual. And it's not that I'm not spiritual, but I've come to the belief that this whole and I'm watching a Netflix series right now on evolution. It's our Earth or something like that with Morgan Freeman and David Attenborough. And so I'm very curious about evolution. So I believe we're just one big happy accident and 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 that I will turn to compost and I hopefully will add value to the earth. Uh, I'm not dogmatic about it. I'm not hardcore about it because I could be wrong. In fact, I think today in the shower, I imagined being in heaven and going, "Well, I guess the joke's on me." So, mm, but yeah, I kind of believe that I'm en route to being compost. However, that doesn't remove conscientiousness and conscious. So and I literally start my meditation off with kindness and always be kind. So I have what I think are good moral guiding principles. Um, and whether I don't know whether they come from society and where have you, but yeah, I think I've on the journey of spirituality, I think I've devolved from a religious background to a spiritual one to even less so. But definitely conscious and conscientious and caring, about people and humanity and, other things like animals, etc.
Right. So, balancing business and personal life can be tough, and especially when you're in a high demand industry like yours. How do you maintain a strong relationship with those closest to you?
You move away. I say that tongue in cheek. So, uh, um, so I'm traveling right now. So I was actually working on another enterprise and came to South America from Canada and thought I would be like a remote traveling worker. And I've always been like a kid in a candy shop and had big eyes. So like when I see a menu, I want to order everything on the menu. Anyway, I started off quite well balancing travel and work. And then at some point in time, I decided, there's a lot to see here. Who knew? And did a lot of, exploring, adventure, climbing up volcanoes in Ecuador and Machu Picchu in Peru and salt flats in Amazon jungle in Bolivia, etc., etc. So about 2 months ago, I decided that I needed to not travel if I was going to remote work, and I also this is when my new AI agency evolved. So So I'm not near friends and family at the moment, although I do have a couple new friends. I'm in Sucre, Bolivia at the moment, which is a colonial town. And so yeah, so I picked this town because there was less distractions versus say Rio de Janeiro, where it's all distraction. So yeah, so at the moment, I'm certainly not a monk, but I get up early. I spend a lot of time working, and I do have some social time and definitely time for exercise. And I do a lot of walking. Like there's a market and like a the city center is like maybe 15-minute walk from it. Um so I am I've not secluded myself, but I've semi secluded myself for the balance for now.
That's right. So, is there any advice that you give to CEOs and entrepreneurs on finding and protecting balance between life and work and personal life?
Yeah, there seems to be two schools of thought. So I came out of the private sector, the first part of my career, and then government and not for profit, but really government. And the entrepreneurial mantra, I think the private one and the not so private one is they say there's no such thing as balance. Um, and government, as you can appreciate, promotes balance. Although again, if you're a CEO, you defining balance may be a little bit different. I think that everybody needs to define their own mantra. But in an ideal world, you're eating well and healthy. Um, you are doing some form of exercise and or yoga or meditation or a combination of that, and that all work and no play does I don't think make any sense. So I think I'm a proponent of seeking some level of balance. I don't work 24 hours a day. I may on occasion work 12 or 14 hours a day, but mostly I work 6 to 8 to 9 hours depending, and I'm still in startup mode too. So, I think seeking balance, I think as an entrepreneur, especially in the digital age and some of the people I'm following, and I'm assuming they're telling the truth, is, they become CEOs. So, at the moment, I'm not a CEO, I'm a doer, I'm doing everything. I'm a one-man show. But the really good ones put the team in place so that they're strategic. They've got a vision and they've got the revenue and the profit, and they reinvest that in the company and they build team and they decide where to take the business forward. I think that affords, and some people claim they work, 2, 4, 6 hours a day. I think that affords balance. Sometimes when you're the worker bee, um, regardless of who you are and where you are, what level you're at, you don't have a choice. Although, I mean, if you have a job, I think typically folks are promoting, the 7 or 8 hour workday. But I definitely think, some level of balance. I'll tell a little story, and I'm not sure there's a moral to it, but I was doing some consulting with a group out of Canada that was on an 8-year program in the Philippines, and they brought me in as a for 2 weeks of training, 2 years in a row for tourism and marketing. And the first year I went, it was 6 days of work, 1 day off, 6 days of work, 1 day off, and I said, "I'm in the Philippines." So the next time they invited me, I said, "Could I have the weekends off? Because 'Cause I'd like to explore a little bit," and that wasn't a problem. So upon arrival and the previous year, I learned about this, place called I believe it's called San Juan del Sur, not too far from Manila. So I balance, not balance. So I took, probably 40 hours of flight layover to get to Manila. And then I went on what would have been a 2-hour bus ride in the Western world, but was an 8-hour rickety bus ride through the rural areas to arrive at a place where I could learn how to surf. So at 50, I learned how to surf, and my surf instructor's name was Peter. And in the Philippines, they call you sir or mister. And I think I was Mr. Dan. I was Mr. Dan, yeah. And so as he's teaching me how to surf, it's easy because he could stand up, and still we could catch waves, and so he was helping me, and his mantra to me about surfing was, "Balance, mister." And, I just rushed to get there. I was a CEO of a company and doing private consulting, and, uh, and I questioned and, back to your was he an angel or a spiritual guide giving me advice beyond surfing about balance, Mr. Dan Bella. So, yeah, I do believe in a level of balance. How's that
Yeah.
for verbose answer?
And most times we get messages from different parts. Sometimes someone could just say something to you, and it's a message the person is passing across. Yeah. So finally, let's talk about business. The area where you've poured in your time, your creativity, your leadership. What are some biggest lessons that you've learned throughout your career that shaped the way you approach business today?
Yeah. So it's interesting. The journey that I can trace back is really a journey of the times. So I started in the mid 80s when the movie Wall Street came out and the theme was greed is good. So I actually worked in a sales role with a boss who was an entrepreneur, and his the mantra definitely was greed is good. So it was a very selfish, you know, money only environment, and that's how I learned business to a certain degree at the beginning of my career, which um, took some time to unlearn, as you can imagine, bumped along the way. Um, and and it was entrepreneurial. So we worked hard, and it was sales and whatnot. And the other thing I learned in that company was about leverage. Well, I learned a lot of things actually. Was about leverage. So we were a licensing promotion company. So we would license Jurassic Park and create, stickers and put them in cereal. So I learned a lot about leverage. I learned a lot about contra, meaning uh, trading different assets. So we had a magazine, and I could trade uh, uh, publicity for other value, etc. So
Mm.
so I definitely learned a lot early on in my career. I would say really like about some of the fundamentals about business, negotiation, value pitches, and greed, etc. Uh, and um, and then I I my first economic development job. Uh, so imagine I was like a big city guy in an area with a population of 25,000 people, um, that had a 50-year it was in a 50-year recession and or depression and really agricultural area. So I needed to learn how to be me and adapt all at the same time, a yin and a yang. And as a human with people, it wasn't that difficult, but I reported to an elected council, and politicians are an interesting breed, small town, even farmer, and I'm not being derogatory, just different world. So it was quite it was a bumpy ride, quite frankly. because I was there to do a job, and my job was to make the economy grow. And they hired me to be the expert. But now I'm dealing with 12 other experts who are not experts. They're politicians. They're experts, hopefully, at being a politician. So, um, I I'm not sure how successful I was successful in the role. I'm not sure how successful I was at the perfect balance. However, that set the stage for the next 3 roles that I had. So, I learned the art of working with politicians, uh, getting consensus on different innovative, creative ideas, definitely out of the box. And, uh, and then I learned how to work that system. And when I say work it, not in a devious way, but when we had some pure good objectives in mind that weren't necessarily straightforward, basically I learned how to get out of the council meetings and basically have one-on-one human coffee meetings with each person because you can't have conversations in a council meeting. They're political and they're public and there's agendas. There's even weird agendas. I remember one politician, he always used to be against me, but I think he was for me. But his tactic, like it was a tactic to
Yeah.
rustle the feathers and achieve to help me out, but in a complicated way. So anyway, so I learned the art of really taking folks aside. And then when I went into a council meeting, and I only had to do this a couple times, um, I knew already what the outcome was going to be because I wasn't playing politics. I was playing humanity and business. And I was able to address a lot of the issues in a non-public, grandstanding way. So I learned that um, the first the first mayor I ever had didn't want me hired and my bosses told me he wanted them to fail from my hire, and therefore he wanted me to fail. And I didn't handle that very well. I handled it in a very opposite way. Basically, I did public relations on everything versus building a relationship with them. So all that to say is I had good relationships with every other mayor after that because I learned my I learned my lesson. And as I said in one role, I had not learned the lesson yet of servant leadership or of responding, not reacting, and it also affected the team, in not a good way. My frustration would come out, it wouldn't create a good vibe, etcetera. And, and it took me a while to so it's one thing to understand that and be coached on it, 'cause I actually was getting some coaching, and it's
Mm.
another to click. I imagine it's like weightlifting. It's one thing to lift weights, and it's another to get the physique that you want. So it took me, yeah. So it took me a while to get the metaphorical physique that I wanted. Yeah, and once I got it, in fact, I'd never even heard of the term servant leadership, but that's what I was becoming. And then I heard the term, and so now I use that, and basically I'm still a servant leader and I'll do the bridge. So in my last roles in economic development, my job is how do I serve the team? You know, I call because I'm Canadian. How do I act as a snowplow? So how do I clear the pathway so they have the resources they need, problems are solved, et cetera, et cetera. And they have what they need to do what they need to do. How do I serve council? So I'm at the service of council, even though I may think some of our objectives aren't aligned. I have to remember so how do I serve them? And ultimately, how do you serve the community? So in the case of economic development, how do you create jobs? How do you create wealth? How do you leverage the assets that they're in that community? And with AI and private sector, it's really no different. How do I help home service businesses do their job better? In this case, not the trade of home services, but can they have a reliable stream of leads? Can they have good leads? Uh, is their business development affordable? Are they serving the customer? So how do I help them serve the customer by getting back to them sooner? Um, and how do I help them with their profit? There's a whole other part of the business that I haven't really, not so much introduced to you, but even introduced in that I have a business partner in Texas who's really good. He's a CEO and really good at operations. And so once I get my business off the ground and I start helping people with marketing, I hope to find some companies that need help improving their overall operations, like strategically. He's got like a profit accelerator model. It's got a 12 point and a 40 point where you can help improve each, let's call it 12 areas of a business, 2 to 5%. So imagine stacking 2 to 5% on 2 to 5% times 12 times 40. It's that thing. And then just for fun, my long-term vision is mergers and acquisitions. So, after I establish this business and I build good relationships, I hope to find some folks, and you may be aware, a lot of the home service businesses are quite mature, 50 plus owners looking to exit at some point in time. So at some point in time, maybe I'll serve them that way and help them with with exits, where you basically acquire a handful of companies, usually in a vertical, usually in a geography, where they can benefit from the exit, and then I can as well. So that's the long term vision, but short term right now. Oh, and there's really something interesting. What's fascinating about AI
Yeah.
is like we're at the tip of the iceberg, right? We don't know what we don't know. That's right. And so I learned something yesterday, or I don't know, learn, but I've been hyper focused on my core services right now. And I came across, of course, a young guy. He looked like he was 14 years old. Maybe I think he was 20 or 21, but he literally looked like he had fair hair, like red hair and fair skin and whatnot. And so he just built a custom AI to help a garage with their brake estimates. And so the example he was giving is typically this service of coming up with the estimate might take 1.5 to 2.5 hours. And so now it takes 20 seconds. It takes the VIN number of your automobile. So there's where you tell it, roughly what the brake problem is in this case, and it spits out an estimate. And whether it's 100% accurate or I don't think matters. What matters is it gets the customer a piece of information, and it gets the business out of hour and a half to 2 hours per and down to zero. Well, not zero, but a lot shorter. So, it's this fascinating, right? Where AI can go and could go. And imagine you're doing 10 or 20 estimates a week and you just knocked out 2 hours per. Redeploy your people to do other things, yeah, or
Yeah.
not hire with attrition and make more profit, etc. So yeah,
That's it. So what's something that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
that's a good question. And I know the answer. Let me see if I can remember it. um, when I started in business, you mean, or I started in AI, or what? Like at the beginning of my journey?
Mhm.
Yeah, two things. I wish I knew, because even though I was in sales, uh, and still today, so I'm not a trained or schooled salesperson. Even though on my first economic development job, one of the counselors said I could sell ice to Eskimos. I'm not sure that's the case. So I guess I have a level of salesmanship, but I would say there's like salesmanship and then there's like technical sales. meaning the nuances of overcoming objections, you know, cold calling, introductions, etc. So the two things that I wish I had known, one, I'm well on my journey, and the other, I have a long way to go. So is like the I wish I was a student of technical sales, of all the nuances
Mm.
of soup to nuts, from cold calling to tight presentation skills. I have good presentation skills, but sales
Mhm.
presentation skills to overcoming objections, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the other, um, so that I am a student of, to be quite honest with you, I'm a student of that. And the other is servant leadership. So I wish, and I don't want to say it wasn't my fault, but I literally grew up in greed is good and a greed is good company. and and if you haven't seen that movie, you should go see it. Uh, hopefully you've heard the expression with Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen of all people, and um, and that I've evolved a long way along the journey. So my either my spirituality or my philosophy is you are never a master. You're always along the path to mastery. So I'm definitely along the path to mastery in the servant leadership. And I'm really a student when it comes to technical sales. So I wish at the beginning of my career, somebody gave me a book, and on the left side was technical sales, and on the right side was servant leadership. And I think I'd be a lot further along my journey than I am today. But here we are.
Okay, so what are some bottlenecks that you're currently navigating in your business and how are you approaching them?
Yeah, so I'm literally building an agency from scratch. Whether the market is saturated or not, I don't think it is for AI, but what I'm learning is, my target market gets called every day for X, Y, and Z service. And so, a roadblock and a bottleneck is having these technical sales skills once you got them on the phone. So I'll take a step back in a moment to be successful. I can see that I'm not hitting it out of the park yet in terms of once I have people on the phone, I could see that somebody who is more skilled than me would be more successful. So I'm not concerned about that. I believe, I'm smart enough and that I'll learn that along the way. Um, People don't answer their phone, and they use technology to screen people, etc. So I have tools that I'm using. One's called Kixie, so it's an auto dialer instead of calling one person at it. Well, so there's two things. Instead of calling people like this, you press a button and it calls one person at a time. I'm using something else where it'll call 5 or 10 people at a time, so that at least every time you call, you get through to something, whether it's an answering machine, the actual person, etc. There's another tool that you could use that gives you cell phones, and usually a cell phone is associated with the senior decision maker or the owner. So I'm learning tricks of the trade to shorten the time frame from which to get in front of somebody, and then I am working on improving my skills once I'm in front of them because I'm selling something much different than I used to sell. It's like it's night and day, and I used to excel at the apples, and now at the oranges. I'm learning how to be an orange farmer, like not a master marketer of selling oranges. Yeah,
Yeah. So, in your experience, what separates business owners that thrive long term from those that fade out?
yeah. It's persistence. It's always been persistence. Persistence pays. I think it's well, even if you have talent, if you don't apply yourself and you don't persist, you're not gonna. you're not gonna make it. So, yeah, it's just getting up every day and deciding what is it that I need to do, and do it. And quite frankly, even in my journey here, I sort of procrastinated. I put it off cold calling until I couldn't really anymore because I'd done all the setup. I'd done all the what's the word I'm looking for? Distractive. They were productive, but they were still distractions because it doesn't matter how your infrastructure is if there's nobody on the other end of the phone that needs your services, then it doesn't matter. So, and now I quite frankly am embracing cold calling because I am looking at what do I need to learn? How can I get better at it? How do I get practice at it? I've got some clients now, and so now I'm also working on, my AI implementation. I've created some AI chatbots and AI voice agents. So that's exciting. And yeah, so I'm now on the wheel of getting better at getting in front of clients and also getting better at service delivery. But I think whatever it is you have to want it.
Yeah.
You have to decide it's a good fit for you, and then you gotta stick with it. And I mean, quite frankly, I did 10 years in my first economic development, and even that was, you know, there's ups and downs in the job, and I was quite entrepreneurial because I had a lot of freedom and we were starting from scratch. Um, the only thing I didn't really need to worry about was the profitability, if you will, because we had a budget and it was I don't want to say it was easy, but it was relatively easy to control expenses, etc. Yeah, but persistence. So
So you've had years of experience in marketing. From your seat as a founder, what's the one thing that you see other business people do that they're not getting correctly and that keeps them stuck regardless of whether they have a good product or not?
yeah, you've gotta. So two things, and we don't have to go, but I if we have time, I wouldn't mind going back to the beginning of what marketing was then and what it is today, because it's like night and day. But um, so and I'm even learning this to a certain degree. So the root of marketing. This is I've been saying this for my whole economic development career. Is like a farmer's market, right? So the farmers go to the market and they bring their produce, and the people go and they buy. So if you're growing what people don't want to buy, you're you're not a good business person. You might be a good farmer. So you need to learn and understand what the market wants. So if you have pumpkins, the nicest pumpkins in the world, but your market doesn't want pumpkins, it doesn't matter. You won't be successful. So you need to ask questions. You need to find out what the pain points are. What's the problem? What do people really want? And then you have to decide if you're in the business of solving those problems. They say the bigger the problem you solve, the bigger the paycheck you take home as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Uh, so you need to ask the question, not provide the solution in a vacuum. So even now, I'm playing around with my openers just because AI agents are a bit of the rage and it's something that I sell. But if my client doesn't want it, if they have some other kind of problem and it's a marketing problem that I can solve, then I need to learn what that is and see if my service fits that. Like I have one client right now. He said, I've got a personal brand that I want to build, which, so I learned that through our discovery process and through going back and forth. So he doesn't want AI agents. So why would I build him an AI agent and chatbot if what he wants is personal branding? We're focusing on social media and personal brand. Yeah. So learn, don't get all excited about your shiny widget that you want to sell. find out what people want and see if that's in your in your wheelhouse to provide the service for it. The bigger the problem, the bigger that you solve, the bigger the paycheck. And forget the paycheck part. It just means you're really helping people and everybody's winning.
Yeah, that's insightful. So at Skilled Edge Show, we talk about giving business owners the edge through fully automated AI marketing systems, credit repair, and business funding. What's your take on the importance of building financial stability and automation into a company's growth strategy?
Yeah. So honestly, I think if people, and this is now not because I'm in this business, I think if one is not automating, it's just like not having a computer or not having software, not too long ago. If you're not automating, you're gonna die. Like as a business, you're gonna die. So think I think automation is it's there used to be and it's a great now it's automate. Or I could be dramatic. It's happening now rapidly, and it's just keep
Mm-hmm.
busy. I'm not sure it's necessarily a business game. It's more of a business game, but I'm young at heart, so hopefully I'll yeah, keep up with this. Uh, Give me a couple part of the question.
Yeah, I was just asking about how important it is, to incorporate into a company's growth strategy.
Yeah, I think without it, so first of all, automation can allow incredible growth. Uh, it can also, and it isn't profitable. Uh, that are created at some point in time may not even be profitable, or at least 80% of the businesses. And
Mm.
yeah, so automation I think drives both growth, profitability, and I would say possibility. Meaning, I
Yeah.
think the possibilities are somewhat endless with technology and AI. And it's just a matter of harnessing it and figuring out how to stay on top of it and to leverage it back to sort of one of my first lessons in business is leverage the technology to the benefit of your business and your customers and your team.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what's next for you? Do you have any big projects or upcoming projects, both in business and life?
Yeah. So well, my big thing is to get my business to the next level. So to move beyond hype, like where I'm literally like a startup. So I want to move beyond startup to get the business up and running where there's a good revenue stream, there's a good process, and then I start building a team. For me and my business, my vision is exactly how I described it before. So get the AI business up and running and bring my business partner in from Texas on select clients who really need help to fine tune their machine to make it run super efficiently and effectively. And then from there, uh, find some of those businesses that are looking for an exit strategy and put together, a 3 to 5 year mergers and acquisitions program where I stack 3, 5, 7 companies, ideally in the same cluster. So whether it's HVAC, maybe in the same city, which is I understand is the best strategy, and then do an exit that way where we all win. So that's my business one. Um, once I get my business up and running, uh, kind of not reestablish, but sort of, probably go back to Canada, Toronto. I really like Toronto. And then I think I need to decide, am I a digital nomad? Am I a CEO where I have time and I just travel a little bit more? I mean, I've traveled quite a bit in my life, as in it, so I don't want to say this trip has whet my appetite, but there's so much to see and do. So I see combining business with that travel, where I have a certain amount of freedom and latitude, which really is what I was describing at the beginning, where some of my mentors and influencers, they're the CEO, and when you're the CEO, your fingernails are getting dirty in the strategy and the vision, not necessarily in the day to day, and you can decide, how much of your time is required for the business and how much is required for your personal, you know, journey and discovery. So yeah, that's where I see myself going next.
That's interesting. So finally, where can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
Yeah. So website for sure. Creative marketing, all one word, x.com. Creativemarketingx.com.
Do you have social media accounts?
Sorry.
Do you have social media accounts? Are you on like Instagram or Facebook?
Oh wait. Yeah, sorry. Creative yeah, I always never. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm on Instagram, creative the number 8, creative Dan creative Dan and Instagram, and creative Dan on Facebook. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. Listen to me, I'm so old school. I'm giving you websites and I'm forgetting about my social media.
Thank you so much, Dan, for joining us today and sharing your expertise as a founder and also your personal insights about your purpose, your health, balance. It's been a pleasure having you on the Skilled Ed Show. And I know that our listeners will take away powerful lessons from your story. And to everyone that's tuning in, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, share it with someone that needs a little bit of inspiration today. And the episode is brought to you by Nolona, helping businesses streamline their operations, automate growth, repair credits, and secure funding that helps to scale with confidence. Until next time, keep your edge, keep going, and remember, you're not alone.
Thanks, Sheba.
Skilled, the platform you need.